Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time to go back to where it all started as we watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 8, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. Checks notes. Nailed it. Friends, with my Swiss cheese brain, that was a coin flip. You could do me a favor before we get started. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel, and it allows me to alert you next time we go live. And of course, if there's anything that we do, the original series included, that you would like early or in its full-length format, link to Patreon is in the description. Not a fan of Patreon? Stick with us here on YouTube memberships. You'll get all of our episodes about a day early, plus any bonus episodes we come up with. And friends, I have several in the works as we near the end of the original series. But all that is then and this is now, and now it's time for one of my favorite moments of the week as we reboard the NCC 1701, that beauty, and watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 8, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And away we go. Whoa. Whoa. Are those ships or missiles?
Do we have maximum magnification, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Spock in the chair? Okay.
Missile spread, Mr. Spock.
Very archaic type, Captain. Sublight speed.
Aye, and chemically fueled to boot, sir.
Anything on communication?
Chemically fueled?
Mr. Chekhov, get a fix on the missile's point of origin.
Aye, Captain.
Phases 1 and 2 locked in and ready, sir.
Light them up.
Mr. Chekhov, alter course to the missile's point of origin.
Cool shot.
Aye, sir.
Warp factor 3, Mr. Sutton. Warp factor 3, sir.
Often I always like the inadvertent color.
You're excused. You may return to your quarters.
No, I'm sorry, Doctor. I have called the captain and I'll wait until he comes.
Whoa. What the hell's going on?
Please, Christine. I promise you I'll give the captain a full report.
What the hell?
Serious.
Terminal.
What is it?
Xenopolycythemia. It has no cure.
Who?
He has 1 year to live at the most.
Who is it?
The ship's chief medical officer. I'll be most effective on the job in the time left if you'll keep this to yourself.
I already like the setup for this because, I mean, obviously, plot armor aside and everything, I know that McCoy's going to make it, but I like the idea of this being like the approach for the episode. Really cool stuff. Jim is telling us about the final frontier, so we can talk a little bit. I'm not sure why the super long title, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky, I'm sure that's a quote from something, but they could have probably truncated that bad boy a little bit. But I'm interested to see. I'm going to jinx us. Get ready for the jinx, everybody. We've had a couple really good episodes in a row in Season 3, and you all have told me that it's really a flip of the coin. You know, it's a roll of the dice in Season 3, whether or not you hit like a good or a episode. So I love every episode of Star Trek. It's just, you know, some of them are stronger than others, and this one's starting off with a strong premise. So come on, please. I hope I didn't jinx us, but I probably did. For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. Written by, Villarts. Directed by Tony Lead. I don't think have we had either of those guys? I know we haven't had the writer.
I have just had the sad duty of informing Starfleet about Dr. McCoy's condition and have requested an immediate replacement. Confirm Chekhov's coordinates for the missile's point of origin.
Correct, Captain. We are approaching those coordinates.
And that object on the screen?
An asteroid, 200 miles in diameter.
Wow. So it came from the asteroid. And Chekhov was right, even though he's right there and he hears you second guess it.
But it is not orbiting. It is pursuing an independent course through this solar system.
A spaceship?
It is under power, Captain, and correcting for all gravitational stresses.
Source of power?
Really?
It surrounds an independent inner core, which has a breathable atmosphere. Sensors read no life forms.
This is already cool.
Course of asteroid, spaceship.
The course Ensign Chekhov just gave for the asteroid would put it on a collision course with Darren 5. Population approximately 3,724,000,000, if memory serves me correctly.
I'm sure it does.
Fact, 396 days.
Oh, we got some time.
A lot can happen in a year. Please, give yourself every minute.
It's crazy.
I think it would be wiser if I'd like to go. I'm fine, Captain. All right, Doctor. If that's what you want.
You're not going to sideline Plum. Plum's my guy. He wasn't my guy at first, I will readily admit. He is definitely my guy now. I'm going to miss these three so much. Friends, you have every idea. I'm learning.
Kirk Enterprise.
Enterprise, Scott here.
Transported without incident, Kirk out.
We should do that all the time. Immediate check-in. It should be a standard operating procedure. They said the builders of this thing were dead, right?
Still no sign of life forms, Captain.
That loose sand must be... Guys? Come on, Jim. Yeah. I like when Spock gets really mad. There's no pinch. There's just a chop. Oh. Yes.
You all right?
I think so.
What happened? He stared at her and then, I mean, he took the shot, but these are some of the most interesting outfits we've had so far. That is an interesting shot. Especially when you actually had the practical walking down of the... That is a really interesting shot. Love seeing shit like that. Tony Leader, I got my eye on you. I'm liking everything about this episode so far. There's little touches with the cuneiform hieroglyphic stuff. They did some work on this set.
You will kneel.
No, thank you. Really? We're bending the knee? Please don't be a computer that's evil. Please don't be a computer that's evil.
Strangers have come to our world. They bear instruments we do not understand.
Did she hear it? Nobody else did?
For what reason do you visit this world?
We come in friendship.
Then learn what it means to be our enemy.
That's not how friendship works. They're really going out of their way with the set dressings on this one. What do you guys think? I mean, this is some of the most advanced stuff we've seen in season 3 so far.
Doctor must have received an excessively large electrical shock.
No, that's not it.
Tell him. Plum's his buddy, too.
Spock, the shock is serious because of McCoy's weakened condition.
May I ask precisely what is troubling the doctor?
I know it's a breach of confidence, but...
But I think you should know now.
Yeah, it's
xenopolycythemia.
Yes.
I could hear it.
Are you all right, Mr. Spock? Very well, Doctor. The captain and I seem to have suffered no ill effects.
Oh, that oracle really got to me.
See how he's helping him now?
Spock knows.
That gets me. That gets me bad, man. Oh, what a great scene. What a moment.
Informing these people they are on a ship may be in violation of the prime directive of Starfleet Command.
Oh, so he's getting shot, man. Oh, it was so good. I think we've seen this guy before, too. He wasn't one of the body guys, was he?
Many of us have felt the power of our oracle. This has been a benefit.
We call it cocaine.
Up there. Outside, up there, everywhere.
All at once.
But things are not as they teach us. For the world is hollow, and I have touched the sky.
I'm digging this one. Whoa.
He's dead.
He came in this room to die? That's going to help out.
Because if you did, you'd touch the sky and find out that you were living on a big ball. Not a planet, but a spaceship. And that knowledge seems to be forbidden.
Why were they attacked, though, with the rockets?
Forgive him, for he was an old man, and old men are sometimes foolish. Take him away, gently.
Or hold him by the neck and just below the waist so it hurts like a sumbitch.
It is the will of the Oracle that you now be treated as honored guests.
You have to be enemies before friends? I don't like that approach, but okay.
Preference for your company? Well, now, nobody can blame her for that, can they?
Personally, I find the lady's taste questionable. Young lady, Spock and I would be left alone to find the power controls of this world. Thank you, Mr. Spock.
We call this moonshine. We use it to remove the paint.
Then you wouldn't mind if we looked around?
Not at all. The people know of you now.
Okay.
Perhaps not.
Then why not remain here?
Well played, Plum.
Thank you for taking care of Dr. McCoy.
Not at all. We shall make him well.
Rahili.
Oh, thank you.
I will trade cups, though. If he traded cups for the one that Spock didn't drink, I'd die.
I suppose we had to learn the power of the Oracle.
McCoy, there's something I must say.
McCoy.
Honesty is usually wise.
Is there a woman for you?
That's a good question, Bones.
I hope you men of space, of other worlds, hold truth as dear as we do. I wish you to stay here, on Yonada, as my mate.
Damn! It's the natural male response to shy away from commitment of any kind. It's like garlic to a vampire, apparently.
But is not that the nature of men and women? That the pleasure is in the learning of each other?
She's doing a very good job.
I wonder how many generations have lived out their lives and being buried here.
It's like interesting, like living in like a fallout shelter, kind of.
How long will it take you to reach this new world?
Soon. The Oracle will only say soon. Have lived a lonely life.
Yes. Very lonely.
Oh, this is so good.
I have an illness for which there is no cure. I have 1 year to live.
I could be happy to have that feeling for a day, a week, a month, a year.
These are some of the longest silent reaction shots we've had for a while. Really cool. I'm so digging this one.
The problem to get in.
I believe that I can.
They're not going to stop you, man.
Didn't the Fabrini sun go nova and destroy its planets?
Yes, toward the end, the Fabrini people lived underground as these people do.
Ah. That took Spock like 10 seconds to figure that whole thing out.
I wonder what alerted it the first time.
The kneeling.
If I remember correctly, the Oracle's reprehensible conduct was initiated when Natira knelt on that platform.
Yep.
The clue to the location of the control room must be around here somewhere.
It's strange that like that knowledge wouldn't pass down. You know, hey, you're on a ship, this needs to be maintained.
That is the number in the Fabrina solar system.
And there's no doubt that these people are descendants of the Fabrini.
None. And no doubt that they've been in flight on this asteroid ship for 10,000 years.
Oh, that'll do it. 10K. Woo! This is bad form, guys. This is not going to go well.
There is one called McCoy. I wish him to remain here.
He must become one of the people, worship the creators, and agree to the insertion of the instrument of obedience. Teach him our laws carefully so he commits no sacrilege, no offense against the people, or the creators.
Whoa.
When the Oracle releases them, take them. Fools.
Wow, they are getting lit up.
We gave them our trust. They betrayed us.
They acted out of ignorance, Nater.
They said they came in friendship.
I've made my decision. I'm staying here on Yanata.
I like that. Do something for yourself, Plum.
How do you think I'd feel if I stayed here with a chance to be happy for the first time in my life, but knowing my friends had died?
So be it. This I will do for McCoy.
She could get punished for this, depending upon how the Oracle views it, because they have that. They said that the thing of obedience. That beauty.
Bones, this isn't a planet, it's a spaceship on a collision course with Darren 5. I'm on a kind of a collision course myself, Joe.
Oh, man.
I intend to stay on this ship with these people, whatever happens.
Your decision is most illogical, Doctor.
But
is that too much to ask, Jim?
1 year, my last year.
Then transport Mr. Spock and myself immediately.
But, Captain, what about Dr. McCoy?
Leave him.
He's staying, Scotty. Kirk out.
Not gonna say anything? We're not saying anything? Ah, come on now.
To become one of the people of Yonada, the instrument of obedience must be made part of your flesh.
Yikes.
You are now one with my people.
So that was that little red thing that we saw in the older guy.
May I give you the love you want and make the time you have beautiful.
We are now of one mind,
One heart.
one life.
One vision.
Our living link with the creators.
Teach him then what he must know as one of the people.
That was actually really beautiful. I love you the way you want. Oh, man. I hope this doesn't turn very sinister. I have a weird feeling.
This is the book of the people, to be opened and read when we reach the new world of the promise.
Do the people know the contents of their book?
Only that it tells of our world here, and why soon, one day, we must leave it for the new world.
So I wonder if Darren 5 was like the place they were actually shooting them towards 10K ago.
But I hope you recognize the necessity that you continue your mission at once. That is the problem, sir. Perhaps I haven't made myself clear.
This is an order.
Trekkie.
An urgent call from Dr. McCoy, sir.
Put him on.
Jim.
You're still there.
No, but I've seen the book that contains all the knowledge of the creators. And if you...
That's that obedience.
McCoy, what's happening? What's happening, McCoy?
You are killers of your friend. I will have you put to death.
Help him.
Until you are dead, he will think of you and disobey. I will see you die.
Spock, take care of McCoy.
Dear God, I'm assuming he took that thing out?
You've released him from his vow of obedience.
We have freedom.
Can we explain to the Oracle what's going on? Something tells me it's a computer, so...
Oracle room.
You will never see the book. It is sacrilege. God! God! God!
There's a better way to handle this, everybody.
If you don't believe what I'm about to tell you, you can call the guards. We'll accept any punishment you decree.
Here, this is...
They built a great ship and chose their best people. They wished for their race to survive. You are living inside a hollow ball. Your ancestors created it.
It's a hell of a good job.
To a promised new planet.
Oh, she's thinking about disobeying.
Why should the truth be kept from us? Why should the creators keep us in darkness? No. No.
She's not asking you, Jim.
Speak the truth. I believe only the Oracle. I believe.
You are doubting or you wouldn't be hurting. Her makeup makes her eyes look like Clockwork Orange when they're, forcing the re-education.
Do you think she understood me?
Meanwhile, Plum's like rolling in pain over on the fur carpet.
You have listened to the words of the non-believers.
Yes.
Convince me.
The truth of Yonada is your truth. There can be no other for you. Repent your disobedience.
That was a good bump.
I believe you. I believe the Creators kept us in darkness.
Take that out of her head.
I believe with you, husband.
Ah.
Is she all right? She will be. I'll stay here with her. The book is in the monolith.
Well, they can still zap you guys.
It is blasphemy. You are forbidden. The punishment is death.
Was it heating up the room? Yeah, because we're getting the heat effect.
Temperature 111 degrees and rising.
Damn!
Press the 3 lower planets on the left-hand side simultaneously.
Simultaneously, Jim. Not 2 then 1.
Yeah, the plan must be in there. Is it indexed?
This is a Julia Child cookbook, Jim. It's all been a bunch of horse shit.
Apply pressure to the center until it opens.
The thing that looks like a big button. Well, how the hell is it hot in here?
There seems to be a weakness in one of the 8 tubes.
Enough to turn it off course?
Yes. Let me check that engine.
Spock is ridiculously good at his job.
Very simple problem, easy to correct.
That was a cool reaction shot. Like, that was Jim, like, effing Spock, man.
You intend to stay here, on Yanada.
I shall stay willingly. And because that is what I must do.
Yeah, she has a responsibility to her people.
Now more than ever, I wish to search through the universe to find a cure for myself and all others like me. And I want you to be with me.
You came here with a great mission to save my people. Shall I abandon them?
This is one of my favorite episodes. I mean, full stop. This is definitely like the Bones episode I've seen so far.
Guidance controls taking over. I believe we can allow the ship to go back to its automatic control.
Steadying on course, marked in red.
I'd tell you good job, Mr. Spock, but you already know that.
Ready for the people to consult when they arrive at their destination. And they seem to have amassed a great deal of medical knowledge. Your hemoglobin count is back to normal, Doctor, which indicates that the flow of oxygen to each cell of your body is back up to its abundantly energetic level.
Scheduled to debark on their promised planet in approximately 390 days. I think that we could manage to be in that vicinity at that time.
I mean, technically, they are spacefaring. That was a great leave line. All right, everyone, we just got done watching the 8th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek, the original series, For the World is Hollow, and I Have Touched the Sky. And the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just got done watching For the World is Hollow, and I Have Touched the Sky, the 8th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek, the original series. I didn't jinx this, at least in my mind. I thought this was an exceptional episode, a very interesting premise. We had several storylines that were going on that all made enough sense. Honestly, with the set dressing, I thought was exceptional. It was kind of like first season type of stuff where we had some distinct locales that didn't look like anything else. Sure, the inside of the control room had elements of engineering in it, but that the stairwell that went up to another level was interesting, added enough change that really kind of like redressed the set in an appropriately kind of camouflaging way. A couple things that I thought was really, really good. Our director, Tony Leader, had an interesting shot there with we talked about it, going down the spiral, or like a curving metal staircase, by placing the camera, not on the staircase per se, but just above one of the steps. We actually got to see the give of the step. We got to see through the steps to the room beyond. People actually and practically walking down the steps, not as like extras boots or something like that, but rounding the corner and actually seeing, everybody emerge into the main shot in the back. And I thought that was really, really, again, it's shots like that take time to set up. There's a lot you have to get into, especially with those older cameras, of making sure everything is lit correctly. You have obstructions that could cast shadows that would be, just a big problem. You got to work with focusing, because you're going to have those elements in the front that are static. You're going to have moving elements that are going down in front of that. And then you got to hold focus with beyond. That's really tough. And, again, there's a much easier way to do that. You just film people entering into the room. But Leader decided, I'm going to take a shot here, and that shot was well received on my end. But I mean, I think that, while I thought it was a interesting story, a cool premise having Bones be sick. Now, of course, again, I think that, it could seem rushed if you look at it and be like, oh, at the top of the episode, we find out he's sick, then we find out he's healed by the end. But again, that's something that I probably would have picked on, I negatively picked on at the beginning of season 1. I'd have been like, oh, why didn't they, drag this out or give a hint to it earlier? It's episodic and not serialized. We have to have it all inside one episode, and they did it, and I thought it was done very well. We had real stakes set up for McCoy. This was DeForest Kelley's, best chance to really get into the character of McCoy. We had some really honest revelations from McCoy, as he's like, when she asked him, do you want to stay? And he was like, has your life been lonely? And there's no reason to believe that he lied. Yeah, it's been very lonely. And I think that is very telling for McCoy. McCoy, I always joke because he's the curmudgeon, he's the devil's advocate. He will always give you the response you don't want, just because he wants you to think about that response and not be surrounded by people that are just nodding and saying, oh, you're great, Jim, you're great. He wants to be able to be the voice of dissent to see if that sticks. And the thing that I love the most about Plum is he will do those moments of dissent. He will do those moments of just, argument and debate and curmudgeoniness, but as soon as he is either in whatever the realization or whatever the end up is for that, whether his opinion is, taken and used or dismissed, he's right back at it. He doesn't care exactly. He states his piece and then he moves on. And I think that is one of the really great, that was one of the things that took me a while to learn about Bones. Because initially I was like, man, this guy, every time they say yes, he says no. Every time they say no, he says yes. He's just that guy that is going to argue anything and everything. And that's not the case, because somebody that was truly argumentative and truly just doing it to be an asshole, or just doing it to be, because they legitimately didn't believe in your path, would hold fast to that. They would continue to argue. They would continue to bitch. They would continue to complain. They would continue to make your life hell. That's not Bones. Bones is there because his job in all of this is to say, yeah, your way is one way, here's another way, or here's something you're forgetting, or here's something that needs addressing after you do your thing. This could happen, maybe you're not thinking of the results. And as soon as he gets his piece out, he moves on. He doesn't hold a grudge. If he does get a little heated, he'll apologize. By the end of the episode, Bones will say, I'm sorry I got a little heated there. I love that about his character. I said it once and I'll say it again. Everybody, especially people in positions of leadership, need to have a Plum around. They need to have somebody that is going to say, no, you're not right. I don't think you're right. Did you think of this? You can't be surrounded by yes men. You can't be surrounded by sycophants that are just going to, think that everything you say is the best, because that's impossible. Nobody's perfect. Jim Kirk surely isn't perfect. But, having Bones around keeps everyone honest, because you're going to hear vocally, you're going to hear it out loud, what could possibly go wrong, another way to do it. That's Bones, everybody. But in this one, the dynamic increased to the point where you really got to see a moment between the big three. And I think that is something that, having seen the movies and having only known the original series crew through the movies, again, to recap, I have not seen the motion picture. I've seen Rathacon several times, the rest of them once. I think I've seen Undiscovered Country twice. I am really looking forward to watching the movies now and taking the knowledge of the original series into it. Having this context and having this build up, I know is going to make the movies exponentially better in my eyes. And I've already enjoyed them, but especially like Wrath of Khan and things like that, knowing how that plays out, there is just so much. I have so much more weight with these characters than I ever possessed before, and I cannot wait to do that. But to back to my point, the big three had a really powerful moment in this one, maybe one of the most powerful moments that we've seen shared between the three of them, when somebody who is considered a friend, a brother, to both of these guys, no matter what Spock would say or say he doesn't feel, he showed it here when he was like, "May I inquire as to what's wrong with Dr. McCoy?" Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't tell you, but he's sick. He's got this. And that look on Spock's face, because Nimoy is so effing good at playing Spock, he can give you that range. He plays in that pocket of being a Vulcan without, he does, "Oh my gosh, well, that's not a Vulcan." Raising the eyebrow and looking back down at Plum in concern, that's the equivalent for a Vulcan, and it doesn't betray the Vulcan. It doesn't change things canonically for the Vulcans. Nimoy is he's an expert at this. And, he was on full display in that scene. And when Bones started to, sit up and he reached down and held him, Bones looked at the hand and he knew. And that moment where he looked at the hand and then he looked up at Spock and then he looked over at Jim and Jim said, he knows. That was to me, that was an incredibly powerful moment between those three, because there was no bullshit going on. There was no kind of, just our typical banter that we have. This was Spock. This was a Vulcan and Leonard Nimoy, puppeting this Vulcan inside that little window that Vulcans are allowed to use for their emotions. And he took it to the limit with that one. That act of helping, you could say, "Oh, well, there's nothing emotionally driven by that." I don't believe that. I believe that was a very representative expression of what was going on underneath the surface of Spock. I mean, when he immediately reached down and everyone noticed it. McCoy looked immediately at that because that had not occurred before. That was a scream, a shout by Spock, where anybody else would have tears running down their eyes or, be hugging, Plum. This was the equivalent of our dear Mr. Spock. And again, I just think that to me, this is the type of episode in season 3 where we know the backstory, we know the Q&A stuff, we know that their budget has been slashed so much, we know that they have just basically they don't have the scripts that they think that they deserve nowadays, the ones that they were getting because certain sci-fi writers had been warned off of using Star Trek, if the rumors are to be believed. And so, there's just so many things that were so many headwinds working against this crew and cast. The morale was low behind this set. But this episode, for the world is hollow and I have touched the sky, this shows what can be done with a limited budget, an incredible imagination, a great premise and script setup, and 3 characters that have established a relationship and a context for that relationship over the course of all of our other episodes. It plays into the strengths and it plays into the tools that you have in your kit. We don't have money in the kit. Can't use that. We can't do, the expansive shots. We can't get the best sci-fi writers in. Okay, then we have to all work together and make what we have work. And I think that's exactly what they did with this one, my friends. But I'm sure, like anything else, especially in season 3 of the original series, there's plenty going on behind the scenes that we need to learn about. Unfortunately, I don't possess that information, though, so we're going to have to turn our attention to the one being that has decided to help us through our journeys of the original series. General? Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane, retired. Friends, this is where, after having watched and reacted to an original series episode, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the cameras, because as we've often learned, the story that went on behind the cameras seems to be just as exciting often as the one that went on in front of the cameras. But to keep myself from wandering off into the weeds for several hours, I've given myself 5 categories with which to explore. The first of which, writer and director, who were they? The second, guest stars, did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big 8, who was present. The fourth and spiciest of the categories, the production notes, what went on behind the cameras. And last but certainly not least, a memorable quote from this episode. let's get started. And now for our very first category, writer and director. Well, interestingly enough, we have rookies in both the writing spot and the directorial credit for this episode. Our writer, brand new to the original series, Rick Valertz, and our director, brand new to the original series, Tony Leader. I thought both did a very good job, and I think Leader gave us what I like to call fingerprint shots, a couple unique kind of takes on the episode that if we see them again, we might be able to start pointing and say, that's Tony Leader's work. We'll see, my friends. Let's move on. All right, everybody, and for our second category, guest stars, did we have any? Well, we didn't have many, but I gave us two of them. Obviously, Kate Woodville as Natira. I thought she did a fantastic job. Really, really excellent work opposite DeForest Kelley. I think they both elevated each other's game. And again, not having a whole lot of experience with Kate Woodville, I thought that just being able to play off that kind of emotional component that DeForest Kelley always brings, it can't hurt, everybody. So I thought an exceptional job by Kate Woodville. And also I thought I'd add in this one, we had John Lormer as the credited title of the old man. The reason why I put him in there is the last time we saw John Lormer in Star Trek, the original series, was way the hell back at the cage. He played one of the illusory kind of survivors of the crash site, and I thought it was really neat to see him again. When I saw him with the weird kind of wig he had on, I thought we've seen that guy before. I didn't realize it had been all the way back to the cage the last time we saw him. Interesting stuff, my friends. Let's move on. And now for our third category, the core cast. Of the core cast, or the Big Eight, who was present? Well, who is the Big Eight? Well, we have Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Sulu, Uhura, Chekhov, and Chapel. Good news, my friends. All hands present and accounted for. Let's move on. All right, friends, and for our fourth category, the production notes, or the spiciest of the categories. What went on behind the cameras of this episode? Let's find out. Alrighty, and for our first production note, I thought this one was exceptionally cool, and I looked this up in three separate areas. Let me tell you what it is first, and then I'll tell you why I looked it up in three separate areas. They say, whether by chance or design, the music that accompanies the appearance of the old man that we mentioned, played by John Lormer, is the same music that Alexander Courage wrote whenever they arrived and he was portraying Dr. Theodore Haskins in the cage. Now, why did I look that up three times? Because each and every time I would look it up, it was basically, they weren't sure if it was intentional, whether by chance or what a convenient coincidence. There's no way with all of the music they have to play that there is any doubt that when this guy's on, the only time they play it in this episode, this piece by Alexander Courage, is when John Lormer walks on the screen, and everybody was just, they thought, no, maybe it was just a coincidence. There's no way. I have to give credit where credit is due, because the producer of the episode, or director, whoever it was, when they realized, I'm assuming it's probably the whole creative team, when they realized they had John Lormer returning from the cage, and that there was a unique piece of music that was given to that introductory moment, of course you replay it. That is such a cool little tidbit. I hate the fact that it was like, maybe they meant this. They absolutely had to have meant this, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly sold. Let's move on. For our second production note, my friends, if you haven't guessed, this episode title at 11 words is the longest episode title of any Star Trek property out there. I mean, that's not really going out on a limb to make that guess, but it's confirmed now. Let's move on. All right, friends, and for our third production note, I thought this one was interesting. A lot of things popping up about the cage in here, I guess because John Lormer guest starred. But in this particular instance, and I thought it was very, very interesting, John Lormer, Majel Barrett, and Leonard Nimoy were all three actors that appeared in both, obviously, this episode, but also The Cage, with Majel Barrett playing number one, and obviously John Lormer playing Dr. Theodore in The Cage, but Spock reprising the role in both episodes. It's interesting, a little sandwiching there going on. I like that quite a bit. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth production note, a very interesting little edit that came about from the original script. In the original script, it was not Plum who was the one with the terminal illness. It was actually Scotty. Now, again, there's no reason or rationale given to why that change was made. Maybe it was the availability of James Doohan. Maybe it would just seem thematically a little bit easier to do that. For whatever reason, it worked. I really, really enjoyed DeForest Kelley in this moment, but it would have been interesting to see more of an exploration of the Scotty character, especially with like a, kind of the specter, the sword of Damocles, terminal illness kind of over top of him. I don't know. But again, I enjoyed the hell out of this one. Let's move on. All right, everyone. And for our fifth and final production note, I thought this one was interesting. We had the book of the people that was displayed there. And oh my gosh, all the secrets inside of it that would tell them whenever they arrived what to do. That book of the people was also Chicago mobs of the 20s from a piece of the action. So a reuse of a prop. And I think it's very interesting to think that if that really contained Chicago mobs of the 20s and they got to their new planet and they opened it up and they became like another piece of the action planet. I don't know, a little bit of a tangent, but I thought it was hilarious. Let's move on. And now for our fifth and final category, a memorable quote from this episode. I thought it only fitting to do something between Plum and Natira because it was a really cool, moment between the two of them, a really cool story developing inside of that. And I thought this quote pretty much summed it up. Until I saw you, there was nothing in my heart. It sustained my life, but nothing more. Now it sings. I could be happy to have that feeling for a day, a week, a month, or a year. And that, of course, is what she said to him after it was revealed that Plum only had a year to live. It did not matter when love was concerned. Thus ends another installment of Q&A, until such time as you and I get to play with our dear friend Jim. Behave yourselves.